Jungkook held the pen tightly in his hand and dug its tip harder against the desk in front of him. The football ground right outside the window of his classroom had his whole attention, as the teacher went on about something boring which he was not interested in. It was really stupid how he found physics so fascinating, but these teachers had the talent of making these things so boring. But his prime concern was the stupid guy who kept missing the goal. He was the football team captain, and the sports week was just around the corner. He needed to set his team right because at this point they were nothing but some losers everyone was going to laugh at. No jokes. Jungkook's team was really good, winning matches for the past few years. But this time they made a replacement of three because previous team members left. He groaned when the class was finally over and stood up. Walking up to window, he placed his hands on his waist as he angrily watched how these boys kept messing up the simplest job. He felt a hand on his back, and one side glance told him it was not of his interest. Uppa, are you worried? Come on, you'll win like you always do. Jungkook didn't bother looking at her. Was she his class fellow? Must be. He saw her a few times around. Jungkook, stay away. He turned around, grabbing his jacket from his desk, and aimed to go out. But suddenly she stopped him again, holding his thick, muscular arm with her both hands this time. Jungkook, what do you want? He pulled his arm back. Leah, Uppa, would you join us for a meal? We prepared it specially for you. She went on, taking the delicious dish names and a whole variety of them. Popular guys of school, they loved getting pampered by girls. Just the thought of girls roaming around them and fangirling only made them brag about themselves. But Jungkook hated it deep down his core. He was not interested. It was that simple. Why couldn't they just understand? Jungkook, what is there for me? He raised a brow. She joined her hands behind her back and moved slightly side to side. She was clearly checking him out, and he wished that one person was here to teach her a lesson. Only the memory of that one person, his wife, brought a smirk to his face. He wondered what a hot show he would get to see if she was here to mark her territory. Leah, everything is for you, Upa. We could even get some drinks and more. Whatever you like, just say it. She whispered the last words clearly with wrong intentions, and Jungkook internally rolled his eyes. Jungkook, keep it for your hunger, and don't ever disturb me again. The glare he reflected made her quiver in fear, her whole give me attention persona flying out of the window as he marched out of the room. He went straight to the football field, and the last bit of patience which was left in him flew out of the universe when the ball flew towards him, completely out of the ring. He stopped it with his foot and looked at his team with an angry look. All of them stopped on their spots. Jungkook had that kind of aura which could make anyone tremble out of fear. Just one sharp look from him was enough, but actually making him angry was a whole different story. You might end up in a graveyard without knowing. He kicked the ball with his foot and it flew at a speed no one was able to catch. Landed perfectly against the stomach of the guy who kept messing up everything. The poor guy groaned out of pain, falling back on the ground. Jungkook knew this time he was running out of the team members, so he made sure the kick was not that strong that no one could recover from. Jungkook, how about you come back to your senses and start all over again, Leo? The poor guy stood up, holding his stomach, and nodded. Leo, I'm sorry. I'll do better this time. Jungkook, you have to. You don't have any other choice. You can't step out of the team either. And I'm going to be extremely mad if you lose this. Jungkook, choice is yours. Either you fix yourself or handle my torment for the rest of the time here. Jungkook, now start. Come on. He yelled, and the boy started the game once again. He stood there with his arms crossed and watched the whole scene unfold before his eyes. There were people here or there standing outside the ground to watch as well. But the annoying thing was they were not watching the game. They were watching him. He hated getting stared at all the time, but he came with terms to it, to ignore it and settle with it. As the game continued, the boys did good, but even the slightest mistakes made him mad. And at this point, he was literally going after those poor boys and giving them a good lesson. Jungkook, it is that simple. He grabbed the boy's collar and jerked him, but stopped when he felt two arms wrapping around his torso. He didn't need to look down to see who it was. He knew so well. Jungkook, back to game. He left the boy who ran back to field and took a deep breath. You look hot when you're mad, but we don't want you in a hospital due to high blood pressure, the girl said, leaving a kiss on his back. Jungkook held her hands and took a few deep breaths. When he turned around, she pecked his lips and brushed her fingers against his jaw. Jungkook, I thought you were not coming today. Why? Well, I did. I just heard. My husband is giving these poor boys a hard time. He chuckled, his anger slowly washing off, replacing by love that reflected in his eyes for her. Jungkook, I bet you didn't come here for that. Wine. Yes, because while it was happening, I was also giving some good view to the girls here, and I am a very jealous wife. Jungkook says the one who sees me all the time. He didn't realize how his anger was already gone, and he was too into that moment with his wife, loving how she came to support him. And in that moment, he didn't care about anyone in this world. Wine, you will win. Trust me, you have won for years. It might be a little hard this time, but you will definitely win. Jungkook, not when they keep making stupid mistakes. Wine, they're under pressure, Jungkook. If you shout at them for every little thing, they won't be able to move on their own. How about you let them practice for now, and in the evening, ask them to show it to you? He looked at them once but nodded and let them know about it. Taking her hand, he walked back to grab his jacket. But his seat was filled with different snacks and refreshment drinks. She raised her brow and looked at them. They had different notes, cheering him up, not to be mad, and some girls or even boys saying how handsome or hot he was. She rolled her eyes and grabbed his jacket along with one of the drink. Tearing off the cheer up note from it, she drank it up while going inside with Jungkook. He chuckled and let her do as she wished. Her arm wrapped around his as she winked at one group of the girls who were glaring at her. The campus knew Jungkook and Hwan were dating, but no one knew they were in fact married. Jungkook, where do you want to go? Hwan, home. I'm in a mood for some cuddles before you leave to train your darlings. He rolled his eyes and she laughed, walking out of the campus and into his car. The day they spent cooking and playing games together, keeping the curtains of whole home closed to provide a little dark and aesthetic vibes, while they cuddled and watched a series together.